Close Pistons coach Stan Van Gundy describes how practice has gone on Saturday, September 30, 2017, in Auburn Hills. Video by Vince Ellis. DFP. This week, we cover an arya stark comparison to Isiah Thomas, the Pistons' top defensive lineup, a Reggie Jackson prediction and an early rotation projection. Why do you hate Tyrion? Jeannie Targaryen at Sept. He says September 20, 2017. I guess I'd that question coming. The Twitter bio touts my Game of Thrones expertise and I jump at the chance to talk about the HBO series, which is probably the top pop culture phenomena going. But I don't hate Tyrion. How could I hate a short, strange-looking book version guy? It's just that Arya Stark, the youngest daughter of the Stark clan, is my favorite. I say this after her much-maligned Season 7 storyline where I had to read fellow fans of the show blast her on a weekly basis. I belong to a Game of Thrones Facebook discussion group started by Free Press columnist Nancy Kaffer. From reading Kaffer's constant barrage, you would have thought Arya owed her money. But why did the hate toward a TV character bother me so much? Probably the reason Detroit Pistons legend Isiah Thomas is one of my favorite athletes ever. Arya is the plucky underdog who has grown up to be one of the most dangerous killing machines in Westeros. Thomas, playing a game for Giants, was one of the most feared players at a height where I, at a mere 5'7", can come close to looking him straight in the eyes. His reputation was cemented in only the third season of his career when he scored 16 points in 90 seconds in the closing minutes of a playoff games. Note Pistons great and former Detroit Mayor Dave being classic 80s white suit on the call with George Blair. And Arya and Thomas also have career parallels. Arya had to overcome watching her father's beheading. Thomas had to overcome a rough childhood growing up in Chicago. Arya learned the art of killing from a grueling set of taskmasters in Sandor Clegane and Jacqueline H. Gar. Thomas spent 2 seasons with the combative Bobby Knight at Indiana, and both displayed stunning toughness at a key moment in their story arcs. Arya was able to take down the waif after surviving being stabbed in the gut. Thomas gave the Los Angeles Lakers the business on one leg in Game 6 of the 1988 NBA Finals. The oft-criticized storyline did reach a satisfying conclusion with Arya and her sister, Sansa, back in each other's good graces. We go into Season 8 with the Stark clan united, a stark contrast to the rival Lannisters. And Thomas and the Pistons were eventually able to bring down houses Celtics and Lakers. Maybe Arya will go on to own a Dornish winery, similar to the champagne brand started by Thomas. Still not convinced of the similarities. We leave you this. Any chance we see Galloway, Bradley, Bullock, Johnson, Drummond all defense lineup when we need some stops? Alexander Kotovsky at Alex Kotovsky. September 20, 2017. How about a nice welcome for the mailbag special guest, Stan Van Gundy? I ran the question by the Pistons coach, and let's just say he was lukewarm to your all defense lineup. I think that Stanley Johnson and Avery Bradley would be the 2 guys I would lock into right now that would be in any kind of defensive lineup. Van Gundy said Saturday. The other 3 would be a little up in the air right now. Van Gundy pondered the question and said the next guy would likely be power forward John Lua. That's understandable since he would likely be called on if the opposing team deployed a big man with 3-point shooting range, something is better equipped to deal with than Drummond. I think Lua would be in there and from there we would figure it out, Van Gundy said. The response really doesn't answer your question, Bullock, but Van Gundy's response gives you the confidence he has in Bradley and Johnson at the defensive end. I wrote about Bradley's defensive prowess last week. Reggie Jackson refused to mention names and what actually happened, but apparently Bradley took a teammate's manhood defensively after a little trash-talking during a sequence in Friday's practice. Something along these lines. I've learned to avoid the cliché best shape of his life phrasing, but in watching light shooting after Saturday's practice, it took me a moment to realize it was Johnson shooting in the far corner away from the entrance to the locker room. He truly looks leaner and the organization has huge hopes. Here's a reminder of his defensive potential. At Vincent Ellis 56. Will Jackson start the season in the starting lineup? Torrey Garrett at Detroit. September 26, 2017. After a week of training camp with no setbacks, things are very encouraging. Although he has yet to practice twice a day he has cleared every hurdle as he attempts a bounce back after struggling with left knee tendonitis last season. The main issue is conditioning now, as he only returned to basketball activity shortly before the start of training camp. Van Gundy has said he won't put Jackson in a regular season game until he goes a week as full participant, so there are more hurdles to clear. But with over 2 weeks before the October 18th season opener, if Jackson is active, he will be in the starting lineup. And a healthy Jackson would be huge for this team. Here's a reminder of the type of player he was in 201,516. What is your rotation expectations to start the season? Kubert, September 20, 2017. The Pistons' lack of a superstar talent is a fair knock, but a team's strength should be depth. And Van Gundy, who typically keeps the rotation at 8 or 9, has indicated he may have more players in the rotation. Here's a first guess at the playing rotation. Starting lineup: Jackson, Bradley, Johnson, Tobias Harris and Andre Drummond. Second unit: Ish Smith, Luke Kennard, Langston Galloway, Reggie Bullock, John Lua and Boban Marjanovic. The roster does offer flexibility and Van Gundy needs to be willing to use it. A front line of Lua at center and Johnson at power forward might be needed to confront some of the small ball lineups. That's it for this week. Hit me up at Vincent_Ellis56 on Twitter for next week's edition. Or zap me at vellies@freepress.com.